Hello friends, let's talk habits today. I'm Lindsay Satterfield, productivity trainer and coach, and we're going to talk today about why build them and how to build them in 5 simple steps. Okay, so you know the quote, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act but a habit. So that quote is all over the place and it's attributed to Aristotle, but it's more likely actually the quote of Will Durant talking about Aristotle. But regardless, it's a great quote, right? It's a great quote because it speaks to a truth about habits. Hi, Anna. It speaks to a truth about habit, which is if you look at at a result that you think is so fantastic or someone who's achieved a goal, if you look at that, then if you can look behind that, you're going to see a network of action and a network of consistent action and a network of habit. So we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not so much just a singular action, it is a consistent action or a habit. Habits are so important and humans are wired to, are creatures of habit, right? So it's important for us to pay attention to our habits and look for how can I build productive habits that direct me to the things that I want to achieve, to the qualities I want to develop, to the results that I want to achieve in my life, the goals I want to pursue. So really where it's at, where the power seat is in any goal achievement is going to be in habit. Okay? So let's see, what else do I want to tell you about that? Yeah, because here's the deal, you can't do a result. A result is what is called a lagging measure, right? So there's lagging measures and leading measures. So a lagging measure is an after the fact result, right? I can look back and see, yes, I ran that marathon or I didn't run the marathon. Yes, I achieved my goal weight or didn't achieve my goal weight. Yes, I changed my diet or I didn't change my diet. So those are lag measures. So you're going to look back and it's going to be a yes or no. What's more powerful, and there's really, at that point, there's nothing you can do about that, right? What's more powerful is looking at what are called lead measures. So these are the actions that, if done consistently, have a very high likelihood to lead me to my result. So let's say the result I want is to write the first draft of a book. And a lead measure for that, what I should focus on is not just, oh, the book. It's actually what consistent action will get me there. So for example, it might be showing up at my desk and focusing on writing 30 minutes a day, or focusing every day on writing, X number of words, whatever. So that is a lead measure. That's something I can measure that I'm doing every day, and that will result most likely in this goal achievement. So we want to focus on where our power is, and where our power is always going to be in action. What we're consistently doing to get where we want to go. Okay, another thing to think about related to habits, I want to use another analogy with my Peloton digital outdoor app, or app for outdoor runs, and that is when when I'm running along with the app and I'm listening to the trainer. One of the things that they talk about is focusing on your form. And in particular, when you're running, they'll say focus on your arm movement. So your arm movement is like that lead measure, right? If I just focus on that form and just keep working, the form of my arms, it's going to propel me forward to my goal, to my finish line. So that's another example or analogy for that idea of a lead action or a habit. Okay, so the other reason that I think it's so important to build, to think about building habits is right now, particularly at the end of the year. it's very easy as you're sliding into the end of a year to kind of just like, let's just let it all go at this point, right? Might as well. We have a new start coming up. We'll just wait till then. The problem is then you're kind of setting yourself behind your starting line, right? You have to actually do a little to catch up to get to the starting line. Where if you start building productive habits now, if you finish this year in a way that you feel happy about, then you start at the starting line or even ahead of the game going into the new year. So you're building capacity to really take off strong in the new year, as opposed to, you know, trying to catch up to your starting line. So this is a way, you know, and I want to say something about time, right? In New Year's and end of years, you know, it is true. There's nothing really different about the end of the year or the next day, or, you know, every day is a day. But there is something different how we perceive it. That's the power of it, is how we perceive a finish line, how we perceive a starting line or a fresh start. And I did a Facebook Live on fresh starts and finish lines and how to use them. I will link that below in the comments, because it really does actually make a difference in terms of our own performance. So as we go into the end of the year, you know, another thing that the trainers say on these runs is, you know, making sure that you're running through to your finish line, that you're running through the interval, that you're not stopping short. And because those have sort of psychological impacts on us in terms of it becomes a habit to sort of stop. You know, sometimes clients come to me and say, I'm a great starter, but a horrible finisher. And that becomes a habit. So we want to get in the habit of finishing strong, because that will allow us to start strong as well, sort of on a higher platform. Okay, so let's see, what else? Okay, so let's do the 5 steps to creating, before that, I want to tell you one thing about habit formation that's critical in understanding what it takes to build a habit. So it's the habit and your brain. So your brain and habits. So here's how it kind of works in a really super layman's version. Okay, so here we go. The habit starts in, it takes willpower, right? To start a habit. It takes it feels like a lot of effort, right? That's because the part of the brain that you're exercising to start that habit is the prefrontal cortex. This part of the brain right up here. And that part of the brain takes more energy to run. So it actually does feel a little hard. This is the prefrontal cortex, is that thinking, conscious, decision-making, willpower part of the brain that we're using all day. If you've ever heard the expression decision fatigue, that's what they're talking about, the use of the prefrontal cortex to make a decision, to make a choice, to exert willpower. That is all happening in the prefrontal cortex. So that's where the habit starts. Now, over time, there's this other part of the brain that I love called the basal ganglia, because that name is so awesome. The basal ganglia does many things, but one thing that it does is it's the master pattern seeker. So it is looking out for when you do things over and over and over again. And it thinks, I'm going to help out here. I'm going to automate this. This is that important jump from willpower to automation, So it sees that you're going out there and going exercising every day, and it sees you're doing it and you're doing it and you're doing it, and all of a sudden it perks up and says, I'm going to create a script for that. And that part of the brain, the basal ganglia, takes much less effort, much less calories and energy, and therefore the experience of effort to run, because it's an automation. If you've ever, let's say you drive a certain route to work, which maybe you're not doing now, but you drive a certain route to work, and one day it's a Saturday, you're not going to work, but you're starting out the same way, and then you make some of the turns, even though you meant to go in another direction. That's the basal ganglia automating that route. It goes, oh yeah, she always goes this way. So, and you can end up going in the wrong direction. So anywho, back to habits. So here's the thing. Starting a habit is going to be more effortful. You have to know that going in, because you need time. It's called activation energy. It needs a period of time before the automation gets created. And oftentimes we stop right before that automation is going to make it so much easier. In fact, the other last weekend, it was not so nice out, and I was not really feeling the going out for a run. And I kept having this thought, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. Meanwhile, I'm getting dressed, I'm going, and I go for the run. So even my resistance got overpowered by the automation. Like, oh yes, I'm going to still do this. So it's really important to know there's this really precious time between when you start a habit and when it becomes automated and much easier. And really the value of it being a habit, you need to give it that time. So it will be a little bit more effortful at first. So give it time. Now, a lot of people, there's sort of this folklore out there that it's 3 weeks and you're done. Research doesn't really back that, or more recent research does not back that up. It's looking more like, instead of 3 weeks, more like 6 to 12 to something like that weeks. So, it will become easier as you do it, but give it the time that it needs. Okay, enough about the prefrontal cortex and the basal ganglia. All right, so here let's talk about 5 steps that you can take to build a productive habit for the rest of this year, towards the end of this year. So I would start with your finish line. So think about the end of this year, and you might have goals that you've already established, but let's say they all went bye-bye, who knows? So think about the end of the year from where you stand right now. What would you like to cultivate, develop? What goal would you like to achieve? What would you like to build? Whatever. So what is your end point? Is it a quality? Is it something related to your family? Is it related to your health, your finances? Is it related to your work? Is it related to your learning? So something you would like to achieve by the end of the year. And that is going to be your lag measure, right? That's your result. That's what you're headed towards, your destination. So based on that destination, now you know where you're going, build out what action, if done consistently over time, will lead me most likely, high likelihood, to this destination, to this result. So first thing, you're figuring out what the result is. Second, you're identifying what action consistently done over time will lead me there. Now, a couple things. So I would suggest you think about something that you do daily versus weekly. And why? Because you're going to build that, you're going to get the attention of the basal ganglia sooner if it's done every single day, right? Versus once a week. It's going to be harder. It's going to take a little bit longer time to see, oh, that's a habit she's doing once a week. So start out with something that you can do daily. Now, it could be the work week, or it could be every single day. So think of something that you do daily, and because the automation will happen sooner. Then, and this is important, consistency is more important at the beginning of habit formation than your quality or how much you're doing. I mean, the length of time you're doing something. It's really do it every single day. So start with the finish line, identify the action that's going to become a habit, and then make it easier. Whatever you identify, make it easier. So let's say you think that writing every day for 30 minutes is going to get me to X far in my book project. You might, if you're just starting out with that habit, you might think about how to make it easier. And one way to make it easier is make it as small as you possibly can. Start out small. So if you want to start an exercise routine and you haven't been doing that, instead of thinking, I'd like to do it for 30 minutes, start out with 10. Start out with 10. Because you want to have no barrier to you doing this action. So make it easier. Also, take away any barrier to you doing it. So also in terms of making it easier, If it's to exercise, make sure you don't have to go through the laundry to find your running clothes or whatever. So get things set up so that it's so easy for you to do this simple action. Okay, so you're going to make it easier. And when you start really small, you can build it. Like even in week 2, then you can maybe extend it. Let's say you're trying a meditation practice. Start with 5 minutes. Then maybe in week 2, you go to 7 minutes or 10 minutes. So you build the consistency first, and then length and quantity and quality builds out second. The consistency is most important in the habit formation. And then schedule it, and the way I like to schedule it is to stack it, okay? So this is point 4, schedule it and stack it. So think about something else. It's really helpful to think about another habit that you have and stack the new habit on that, because you'll get a little bit of the momentum of that automation of the first habit when you add on this new habit. So stack it with something else that you do. Let's say you have coffee, then the next thing you're going to do is go outside and go for a walk for 10 minutes or whatever. So stack it with, just think through your day. What do I do every single day? And can I stack this new habit onto that? So that's one way. Stacking is a really powerful way to build sort of a habit suite. You get the benefit of the habits that you already have in place. The other thing is, if you don't have that, make sure you schedule it, put it on your calendar, because you have to know when you're going to do it, and think through, what will I have probably been doing before that? How will that work? So make sure you schedule it and or stack it. And then the last one, so that's point 4, the last one is track it. So you want to get the motivational value of the fact that you're doing it every single day. Tracking is the reason you track is really to build the behavior change, because that's one of the elements that support behavior change, progress monitoring. There's just and why is that? Because we are designed and built to have an impact, to make progress. We dig that stuff. So you want to make sure that you can give yourself that feedback loop, like I'm doing it, and that will build motivation to continue to do it, and will support you in continuing the habit. So here's the thing, there are tons of habit trackers out there, and they're fun. I use one of them called, I think it's just called Habits, but I recommend when you are starting a habit that you actually use a physical habit tracker, because it's so visual. See, when it's in an app, it's kind of gone, and you lose a little bit of the power of that visual representation of look at you go day after day. So I will link in the comments below a paper habit tracker. Super simple. You just put the habit in, check it off, and that will give you that powerful feedback loop for that habit. So those are the steps. Start with the finish line, identify the action, make it easier by making it smaller, and setting it up so that you're successful in doing it. So make it easier, number 3. Number 4 is schedule it, and you can schedule it by stacking it. And number 5 is to track it. Finish line, action, make it easy, stack it, track it. Super, super easy. So I will put the information, or I'll put the habit tracker below, and let me know how it goes if you try out this technique for building a habit, building a productive habit as you close out this year and get ready for the new year. And I want to tell you along those lines that I am doing a program. I will be offering a program that starts the week of November 16th. It's 6 weeks self-paced, and it's designed to help you have a good finish to 2020 and a great start to 2021. What is it? What are we doing? So we're looking at mindset, we're looking at action, and we're looking at mindset, action, and energy. And we're going to be building habits around each of those things, super simple, so that we have this little repertoire of habits ready to go as we go into the new year. And we'll be identifying something to accomplish by the end of this year, maybe something you're working on right now. And you'll be getting some guidance along the way from me. So if you're interested in that, check it. I will put a link below. Check it out. I'd love to have you join us. Also you will be creating your goals for 2021. Again, so you're not just stepping into 2021 and sort of losing time at the beginning of the year figuring out where are we, what are we gonna do. So you'll finish out this year in a great way. You will identify how you want to start in the new year and be all ready to go, having built some habits around mindset, energy, and action. So that's what it's about. It's called The Good Start. Or it's called the, no, it's not called The Good Start. It's called the Good Finish, Great Start program. And I'll put information below. If you have any questions about it, reach out to me, and I will see you next week.